The president's ex-campaign chairman has flipped on him, and his Supreme Court nominee has been imperiled by a serious sexual assault allegation. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. One by one, Trump's closest aides have turned on him and struck plea deals with prosecutors. But there was one who, for months, refused to cave, and that was his ex-campaign chairman, Paul Manafort. Manafort went all the way to trial, and to ensure Manafort's loyalty, Trump repeatedly praised him.
I think the whole Manafort trial is very sad when you look at what's going on there. I think it's a very sad day for our country. He worked for me for a very short period of time, but you know what? He happens to be a very good person. Paul Manafort's a good man. He was with Ronald Reagan. He was with a lot of different people over the years, and I feel very sad about that. It doesn't involve me, but I still feel, it's a very sad thing that happens. This has nothing to do with Russian collusion.
I like how Trump tries to praise Manafort, but his instinct for self-preservation keeps leaking through. Paul is a very good friend whom I barely know, and his crimes had nothing to do with me. His very good friend. Also, do you only give interviews on tarmacs now? Trump's strategy for dealing with reporters is to always be near something louder than him. Mr. President, why is everyone around you a criminal? I'm sorry, you'll have to speak up. I'm making wood chips. Gonna catch on soon with Sarah Sanders. She's gonna give press conferences while making daiquiris. That is not something I've spoken to the president about. So there you go. Trump heaped praise on Manafort, calling him a brave and wonderful man who would, under no circumstances, flip.
Paul Manafort has flipped.
During an hour-long hearing in federal court, Manafort pleaded guilty to 2 felony counts related to his foreign lobbying. Even more significantly, he agreed to cooperate in special counsel Robert Mueller's Russia investigation by providing unspecified documents and testifying before the grand jury.
Wow, your friend just flipped on you. What do you say to that? I said your friend just flipped on you. What do you... Never mind. Pointless. And Manafort didn't just have to plead guilty and agree to cooperate. He also had to give up his lavish lifestyle, including an apartment in Donald Trump's most famous building.
As part of his punishment, Manafort agreed to forfeit bank accounts, life insurance, and several properties, including his apartment in Trump Tower.
You know what the best burn would be? The best burn would be if Robert Mueller took the apartment. If Mueller moved in, he would be the kind of tenant Trump hates. Hey, the guy in 4C went through the recycling again. He says you're mixing your paper and your plastic. I hate that guy so much. For the prosecution, there was maybe no one more valuable than Manafort. He knows as much about what happened in 2016 as anyone. For example, he was actually in that infamous Trump Tower meeting with the Russians in 2016, and he seems to know a lot about Trump's finances and connections to Russians. As you can tell from this clip from the 2016 campaign, which is truly one of our favorites.
So to be clear, Mr. Trump has no financial relationships with any Russian oligarchs.
That's what he said. That's what I said. That's obviously what our position is.
How was that guy a successful criminal for so long? I mean, that was one. He got one question about Trump's finances, and he broke down like a malfunctioning Chuck E. Cheese robot. Oh, that's what he said. That's what happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Mom, the mouse is smoking! So for months now, the screws have been tightening on Trump, but he seemed to have one last ace in the hole as Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh. If Kavanaugh makes it onto the court, he could very well rule on key aspects of Trump's case. And Kavanaugh has been a loyal partisan Republican whose views on executive power could not be friendlier to Trump. Throughout his confirmation hearings, Kavanaugh has refused to take positions on legal issues that could be crucial to Trump's survival.
Trump claims he has an absolute right to pardon himself, does he?
The question of self-pardons is something I've never analyzed.
Can a sitting president be required to respond to a subpoena?
So that's a hypothetical question.
Should a president use his or her authority to pressure executive or independent agency officials into carrying out directives for purely political purposes.
I need to stay not just away from the line, but 3 zip codes away from the line of current events or politics.
Hey, you don't get to stay 3 zip codes away from Donald Trump. Some of us are entire states away, and we can still hear him screaming over the sound of a jet engine. Also, nothing says you're not from New York more than thinking 3 zip codes away is a large distance. In New York, 3 zip codes is like 2 Starbucks away. Now, when this process started, it seemed to many like Kavanaugh would sail through, given that Republicans control the Senate. But then last week, Senate Democrats disclosed that they had referred a complaint regarding Kavanaugh to the FBI for investigation. The complaint came from a woman who accused Kavanaugh of sexual misconduct when they were both in high school more than 30 years ago. In the letter, the woman alleged that during an encounter at a party, Kavanaugh held her down and that he attempted to force himself on her. Kavanaugh denied it, and Republicans responded by rushing to defend him.
65 women stepping forward to defend President Trump's Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh.
Right after we saw these allegations came out, we heard from 65 women defending him in a letter to Senate Judiciary Committee Chair Chuck Grassley and Senator Feinstein. So this was immediate response.
You know what's a little incriminating? If you're accused of sexual assault and you just happen to have on hand a list of other women you didn't sexually assault. If the cops come to your house and say they want to ask you about a murder and you come to the door with a list of people you didn't murder, you'll still be a suspect in that murder. Every one of these people is alive. Alive, 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 alive. And yet, despite the seriousness of these allegations, Republicans and right-wing pundits immediately went on the offensive. Fox News host Jeanine Pirro, for example, attacked California Senator Dianne Feinstein for keeping the complaint confidential at the woman's request and implied that she might not even be a real person.
When you get the letter, what do you do to make sure it's real? That the person is even real? Given the left's penchant to buy fake dossiers, make up facts, and collude with the media to sabotage even the President of the United States, forgive me if I think it's all hogwash. Why would you wait to even send it to the FBI? Is it because nothing in you and your pack of demon rats, that's what I said, demon rats, a.k.a. Democrats, bag of tricks, was working against Kavanaugh?
Jeanine, you don't have to clarify that you said demon rats. You look and sound like a person who uses demon rats all the time. If your delivery guy was 5 minutes late, I'm pretty sure you'd call him a demon rat. When I order my egg rolls, I want them when they're hot. Also, you're calling Democrats demon rats? Have you seen the guys who work in this White House? I'm pretty sure Stephen Miller is a demon who eats rats. If you check the White House fridge, his lunch looks like this. And then there was Louisiana Senator John Kennedy, who was asked about the allegations and chose to complain about the way Democrats had behaved throughout Kavanaugh's confirmation hearings.
What do you make of this allegation against Kavanaugh back when he was a teenager? Do you think it'll do anything to derail his nomination, his confirmation?
I'm fairly confident that our founding fathers did not intend the process to work this way. So far, it's pretty much been an intergalactic freak show.
Excuse me, have you seen the guy you voted for? Talk about an intergalactic freak show. Trump looks like an extra from the waiting room scene in Beetlejuice. Then yesterday, the author of the letter, Christine Blasey Ford, came forward and spoke on the record to the Washington Post. She provided therapist notes from 2012 to corroborate her story, making clear that the allegations are indeed credible. And again, the right tried to discredit her or ignore the allegations altogether. Republicans on the Senate Judiciary Committee released a statement calling them uncorroborated, allegations from more than 35 years ago during high school. And when a reporter tracked down Maine Senator Susan Collins in the D.C. airport, she wouldn't say if Kavanaugh's hearing should be delayed. In fact, she wouldn't even stop walking.
Well, I obviously was very surprised, and it's an issue that I brought up with him last Friday, and he denied, as he did in his written statement. That's really all I have to say at this point.
What do you think? Should the committee vote coming up here this week?
I'm going to be talking with my colleagues, but I really don't have anything to add at this point.
Do you believe the accuser?
I don't know enough to make a judgment at this point.
She really covered some ground in that interview. If that was New York, she would have walked through 3 zip codes. Now, Republicans are really getting desperate to avoid reporters. Mitch McConnell actually flies inside his checked luggage now. And generally speaking, when you're running away from a reporter asking you about sexual assault allegations, you're on the wrong side of history. And this isn't even the first entry in this genre. Last year, Alabama Congressman Mo Brooks literally ran down a flight of stairs as a reporter chased after him, asking about the allegations against Alabama Senate candidate Roy Moore.
You believe him, you don't believe the women?
I believe that the Democrats will be great.
So you still believe Roy Moore?
Oh, why'd I wear my tap shoes? Oh, the days to wear my tap shoes. Seriously, at this point, news networks are going to just have to start hiring faster journalists. And then there were the Republicans who made clear that they were eager to believe Kavanaugh and dismiss Ford. Today, for example, after one phone call with Kavanaugh, Utah Senator Orrin Hatch said he believed Ford had gotten her story wrong.
I talked to him on the phone today.
And what did he say to you?
Well, he didn't do that. And he wasn't at the party. So, you know, there's clearly somebody's mixed up.
She was mixed up? You literally once tried to take an invisible pair of glasses off your face during a hearing. Now, late today, it was reported that Kavanaugh and Ford will testify in public next week. Republicans should honor her courage, take her allegations seriously, and stop dismissing her. Because right now, if you ask them if they still stand behind Kavanaugh, they say...
That's what I said. That's obviously what our position is.
This has been A Closer Look.